this. All right, guys, if you did not hear, we are currently recording, as the little robot said. How are each of you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely dynamite. How are you doing, Floyd?
Great. It's a great time to be alive, really. I can't.
And it's a radical day here in Toledo, Ohio. So let me start. I want to just drill into you guys about the Smartlys. I want to know the inception of this project. Who initially, I imagine, Shelley, that you initially wanted to do this, but can you guys tell me about how it came together and how all of you the team came together to work on this?
Well, I originally began the Smartlys with the idea that I wanted to bring back classic comedy along the lines of the old-fashioned George Burns and Gracie Allen. I particularly wanted to focus on comedy duos, and I love it when one person is playing off against the other, when they have a real conflict going on. It's something meaty you can get into. And I thought that was, and I wanted to get back to very brisk writing and a lot of jokes and less emphasis on the surroundings or special effects. Getting back to the roots of comedy. So we began by doing a sizzle clip, and after the sizzle clip, we were auditioning for more and expanding the show. And at that point, Floyd came into the show. He was cast as Preston Smartly, who is the villain of the show. In a little bit of a way, we're like a melodrama, and Preston is the ultimate. He's a greedy, narcissistic, sociopathic, philandering, histrionic, former golf pro. And he's Eric's baby brother. Eric is my partner in the show. So he joined us in that role and did a marvelous job of it while we performed a pilot on a live stage and on a stage in front of a live audience in a senior center. So we had made the pilot and we're just beginning to shop that when the pandemic hit. We had to throw it all away. And at that point, in the middle of the pandemic, Floyd stepped forward as our new director and producer. And I rewrote the entire season 1 of the Smartlys so that we could do it under the conditions of the pandemic.
Okay, so you, Floyd, did you want to add anything to that before I slide into the next question?
Well, just to complete it, I guess, yeah. So here, all of a sudden, we had no way to film, not knowing how long the pandemic was going to be around. I was watching some videos of them doing basically a Zoom, and trying to put the two together. And I was like, let's do some clips and just put them out on YouTube and keep people at least interested in our show while we're waiting. And that then spawned into us creating it in format that we have today. So
that's awesome. I like how that evolved. You guys kind of adapted to the situation.
Right.
Even though it was a really bad situation, you guys were able to adapt and still move on with your project.
Yeah, and part of our motivation too was knowing that everybody else was shut down, knowing people weren't creating. We're like, let's do this.
Let's do this, yeah.
This is our opportunity. Well, and further, when we started, our mission was to spread joy throughout the world. And when the pandemic hit, we realized that was a serious need. For all of us to feel some hope and inspiration and laughter. And it's under very difficult circumstances to generate that. So I'm really glad that we stuck to our mission and that Floyd really enabled that.
So for people who haven't seen this or haven't even heard of the Smartlys, could you guys give a short kind of synopsis from your perspective of what it is?
Who wants to go first?
Let's do Floyd first this time.
Well, yeah, I'll go. So we have a setup in duos. It comes in, we do a scene, we get a punch, and we move on to another scene. But each one of those setups builds in the story as we go along in each person's character's background. And it's all about getting to the laugh, keeping people entertained and wanting to stay and watch.
And our plot is that Eric and I win $300 million. We retire as king and queen of the Minnesota Renaissance Fair. And we buy a luxury beachfront complex on the shores of San Diego, where we live with our entire family, and they are all vying for our money, and they're going to get it by hook or by crook. Preston is especially out for our money. That's something that has never changed.
Preston is the character that Floyd plays.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. He is our villain.
That's what I thought. Okay, I had only seen the first couple of episodes, but I'm excited to see the rest. So my question then, I know that there's 8 episodes, I believe, in the first season.
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder how far do you have this mapped out past the first season? Like, what are you hoping to or planning to continue on from season 1?
For the first season, we did 8 episodes, and we have 8 seasons planned. Our last show is going to be our 64th episode. That's necessary because the show takes place all on one day. So we're sort of frozen in time, and there's a point to that, which we're not going to tell anybody till later. But the next day is our 50th wedding anniversary. So throughout the entire series, we're preparing for our big excitement the next day. We always have something to look forward to. And we believe that that's important for everybody, to find something to look forward to.
I have to say, in the beginning, during episode 1 or the pilot, whatever you'd like to call it,
Yeah.
the stalker.
Yes.
I could not stop laughing or stop focusing on the stalker because, like, I was trying to listen to what you and your partner were saying, and all I could see was this. And it was so funny. It was so funny. Like, that was the first thing that I was like, all right, I can't wait to talk to these guys.
Our stalker is by Jim Winkler, who is fantastic. He's a professional actor, as you can tell. He's been in acting his entire life. He's also a stand-up comedian. And I can't even imagine having a stalker without him. Neither can Floyd. We laugh so hard at the rushes you can't even believe. And that was inspired, that role was inspired by the fact that I had a real life stalker for many years. And it felt good to me to be able to bring in sort of a defanged stalker under benign conditions and have fun with it in the show. It was sort of revenge, I guess.
So, Shelley, did you say that, I think that I read that you had come up with this comedy series after your mom's passing?
It was actually after my late husband had a lung transplant, and 4 years later, he passed away from leukemia. So it was in that grief and trying to deal with it that I turned to going to stand-up comedy shows immediately. I mean, within a few weeks. I had to laugh. It was my path forward for healing. And I went to comedy shows nearly every single night of the week for 4 years before I became a stand-up comedian myself. Floyd has a similar path. You want to get into that, Floyd?
Well,
Yeah, tell me about your spark. The spark that got you into this industry, Floyd.
It 6 years ago, you know how Facebook reminds you your memories, it popped up not long ago, 6 years ago, standing on a comedy stage. But what got me there was my brother took his life in '99, and I never grieved it as a suicide until 2006 when my niece took her life. After that time, I really, some other things happened with my relationship here, and I was able to focus on myself and start, and as I did that, I got into public speaking, and all my talks ended up talking about my brother. And I realized, this is a way to make good out of this tragedy, help others that are in this situation, and started doing that with an organization here locally called Survivors of Suicide Loss San Diego. In developing those talks, I realized I needed to learn how to do comedy because I've got a very dark subject and I need to release that audience. And in doing so, I fell in love with being on stage and started every year then challenging myself with something different. I auditioned for a theater, got into theater, which I just love being in front of a live audience and on theater. That then grew, until I produced and directed a movie for the Armed Forces Film Challenge. We won first place in that and got it into the GI Film Festival. And
what was that one called?
Life After Oblivion. It's about a young sniper Marine bringing those ghosts back with him from that he experienced in Afghanistan, and how that always affects everybody.
When was the? Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
It's okay.
I just wanted to know a little bit more about that film. When was that? When did that come out? When was that filmed?
Well, it's a short. It was filmed here. In Bakersfield was most of it filmed with actors from all over, and they were all volunteers. That was part of it. It had to be all volunteers. So I had over 13 military in it. So most of the Marines in there are Marines that are actually in there in uniform. I had a guy hand me a whole sea bag full of uniforms to use because none of us are on active duty. Just, all this volunteerism because of the topic we were working with, everybody wrapped their arms around it, including a Subway sandwich up there in Bakersfield, provided us with, just huge amount of food to feed everybody. All donations, and then I needed to put music behind it, a composer. And I met this one on this other project I was working on. I just sent her an email and said, hey, she's in Brisbane, Australia, Jackie Joy. And I said, would you take a look at this and give me an estimate of what it would cost? The next day, by the time I woke up, because of the time difference, she had sent me a complete composure as well as a letter saying, it's my privilege to be a part of this project.
That's so kind.
It was. So it really, I'm sorry, but it was just so gracious of everybody, to pitch in, and then for it to affect those. It's not out on public yet. We're still doing some festivals. Then we're going to try to smooth it to put it on like Tubi or something.
Right. I think Tubi is where the Smartlys is too, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, what a coincidence. You said 6 years ago that short was filmed?
No. That was we actually finished filming February 29th of 2020.
Oh, right before the lockdown.
Right before lockdown. So I was in post on the lockdown.
Yeah, you were lucky. You're lucky. I don't want to stay away from the Smartlys too much. I do want to say I'm sorry for the losses that both of you suffered.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as Shelley, I'm so sorry. I said mom. I thought it was your mom. I didn't realize it was your late husband.
That's fine. That's fine. Loss is loss, and grief is grief. I don't care if it's one of your pets or, a shoestring relative or even an acquaintance. A loss is a loss.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. To get back to happier things, because I love that you guys decided to take something sad and turn it into something wonderfully happy and joyful. I want to know, like, what have you gotten any reactions yet, or done any prior interviews to this where you had spoken?
My goodness, you would not believe the reaction that we've had. We won 5 international awards coming right out of the gate. One of the festivals, we won the entire fest. We have had overwhelming positive reception. Subculture Australia, David Griffiths did a marvelous interview of us. He absolutely loves the Smartlys. He's watched more than one episode. Yesterday, I was interviewed by Tony Toscanso of ABC4, and he absolutely adores the Smartlys, every bit of it. And he's going to be sending me a fan letter. Can you believe that? I mean, he's been in the field for 50 years. And I mean, I really feel like I should be writing down, him a fan letter. The shoe is on the wrong foot.
Well, you better write one back.
They're really appreciating it, what a fresh concept we are. And even though we were built with just very minuscule resources that we had, we did the entire season 1 on the dregs of my Social Security check. Our actors had to use their own cell phones and green screens, and then we had to do all of the backgrounds from scratch. And at the height of a pandemic, and Floyd is the magic that made that all happen for us. It made that part of the pandemic a joy.
So I want to know about the Smartlys. So you said 8 seasons. So each season is going to have 8 episodes, right?
Yes.
That makes the full 64.
Yes.
Do you have any other projects, like while you're working on those 8 seasons, that you guys are in the works with?
We sure do.
Okay,
Floyd, to you. Floyd can take that one.
We do. A few years ago, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago, Shelley wrote a book and put it on the shelf. She'd never published it, and she was telling me about it, and she let me read it, and I just adore it. It's a humorous romance. Think Hallmark type, humor. And so I don't write. I'm not a writer. However, I'm taking that book and put it into a screenplay so that we can produce it. And I know enough writers to mentor me, to get me to the place I know will be at the level I want to be for a quality product to come out. And it's either going to be a feature film, a long feature film, or it might be a miniseries, 3 episodes. It just depends on how much I can cut and still feel good about, the whole content being there.
Right. And what is the working title or the name that you guys are going to do? If you guys are allowed to say, I don't know what kind of NDAs you have put in place.
It's Struck by Lightning is the working title.
Struck by Lightning.
And we're going to release the book then at the same time to go along with the movie.
Awesome. Have you written any other books besides that? Have you ever published any books?
I've published 3 books. I'm
too.
co-editor. Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are they?
They don't matter. Let's talk about you. You're more interesting.
I'm co-editor. Okay. I'm co-editor of the Voices of Scleroderma book series. And every book in the series has articles from over 100 patients and caregivers with scleroderma, which is a very serious autoimmune disease, and articles by world experts. And from 15 countries and in 5 languages. So we had the foreign language stories translated into English so that the whole world could get together on the project. And that was done through the nonprofit agency that I used to run. It was called the International Scleroderma Network.
I was going to get to that too.
yeah, I'm sure you were. And I closed that down last year in order to focus on writing the Smartlys, because I couldn't do both. And I really felt that if the Smartlys was the success that Floyd and I both hoped it would be, that would also help raise awareness for scleroderma and related illnesses and attract people who could support the cause. So it's a different way of tackling the same thing.
Yeah, and you definitely, I'm excited to look into it and learn more about it, because I was reading about it in your bio, and that's why I was going to get into that and then ask you a little bit more about that. I've kept you guys for quite a bit. I want to ask if either of you have anything that people don't ask you about the Smartlys that you would like to say. I feel like a lot of questions are like, what was your inspiration? What, this, that. A lot of things are general questions. You get them in every interview. But what things do you feel about the show that people don't ask you or give you a platform to say?
I think a lot of people aren't aware that we're an ensemble cast. We have a cast of 15, and every single person in our cast is a Gilligan. They're all irreplaceable. They all have their own spark. They're all a star in their own right. And 2/3 of our cast are professional actors and or stand-up comedians. And a few of our actors are brand new to the stage. But like my partner, Eric Smartlys, who's also my boyfriend, and he was pressed into service during the pandemic because I had to have somebody that I could perform with. And I'm so grateful that he relented, because I think he's an absolute natural and a total stitch on the screen, as well as Floyd's grandson, who is his partner and plays his caddy in the show, does a smashing job of it. And he's brand new to the screen, and he was 16 years old. And so the pandemic made some new comedy stars.
And what about you, Floyd? Because that was a great answer. Good luck topping it.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I think sometimes people turn it on and it's just so different. That's some of the feedback I got back from close friends, is that the format I'm just not grasping, or don't, it's very different. Well, it's different because that's all we could do at the time. So I roll with that and hope that people will not judge it in that manner, as far as this is not what I want to see. I want them to listen to it, because one of the peculiar things that maybe you could try too is listen to an episode without watching it and see if you enjoy it, because we really believe it could be a radio show.
I was going to say, you could even release it on audio.
Yes.
Yeah. We do think that that's a very real possibility.
That could be really cool, honestly.
Oh, and also most of our cast members haven't ever even met each other.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's all done over.
I don't think that you can tell that when you watch the show. There are cast members that Floyd and I haven't even had the opportunity to meet yet. Our cast is all over the United States and even Canada. Our cast is from we have a diverse cast, and ages 9 to 79. One of our youngest cast members, Willow Sasha, is also, in addition to being a wonderful actress, she's also a singer and songwriter, with national releases on Spotify and iHeart and YouTube, with very inspiring songs. And it is amazing to see her talent coming to life. But that is only one. I mean, everybody in the show is a star, so you have to get into all of them in their own right.
Was she the Black woman that was in?
No, she's
young redhead.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she plays the 14-year-old.
She spun around real fast.
9 years old when she did that. She's 10 now.
Okay. Yeah, I remember she spun around. I don't know if it was episode.
Yeah.
Two,
She's the one that spun around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We talked about your past and your present. Before we go, is there anything in the future other than what we've talked about that you would like to plug?
Well, I'm anxious to see how Shelley, as a writer, meets the challenge of all these kids we cast, as we're still on the same day. They are growing taller than me, so yeah, I'm anxious to see how that plays out in the show.
Well, we can do some time travel in the show, we can do anything we want. We're quirky, we're different, we're melodramatic, we're campy and over the top. And if people expect a serious comedy show, they've come to the wrong place.
Right. Yeah. This feels more like a Adult Swim type of comedy, which is really cool.
Good thing to mention, we're rated TV 14.
TV 14. Okay.
Yeah. So although we have cast members of all ages, parents should really take a little bit of a look at it first.
Any social media or websites you guys would like to direct readers and listeners to?
I would go to the smartlys.com, and on there it links to our Facebook, our Twitter, Instagram, etc. Okay.
And anything more from that, you, Floyd, or do you agree with those?
No, that's it. That's...
Both of you were such a pleasure to speak with. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the episodes I saw. Can't wait to see the other 6 of season 1. And that is on Tubi. Is that already out for people to watch?
It's streaming right now on Tubi and Plex. So you can
You just have to know that it's there, so that they need to search for Smartlys, Smart Lys, because
Okay.
it's not going to pop up yet.
Okay, so you said it's on Tubi and what was the other?
And Plex,
Alright.
P-L-X.
PRX?
Plex. Plex.
Plex. I'm so sorry. I misunderstood you. Okay,
That's okay.
so
So we're
Tubi
airing
and Plex.
everywhere except for the People's Republic of China between the 2 platforms.
okay, cool. I'll make sure to mention that in the articles too. And that seems to be pretty much everything. I thank you both for your time. I had a great, wonderful time, and I want you both to remember to stay safe and keep bringing comedy like this.
Thank you. You were a very gracious host, and we really appreciate it.
Oh no, I'm the lucky one. Thank you.